Hey, Mike here. This is going to be your introduction to the Book of Enoch. Almost everyone who has read the Bible has heard of the Book of Enoch. After all, Jesus quoted it numerous times, which I'll point out as we read through the text. If it's an important enough book for Jesus to quote so many times, it's important enough for me to read. So who was Enoch? And why did he write the book named after him? Enoch was the seventh generation of humans and was actually Noah's great-grandfather. And he lived in a pre-flood world, which was the world he knew. Enoch was taken up to be with God before the flood, and he was actually one of only two people in all of history to never die. Enoch and Elijah. There's a strong case for him being one of two witnesses of Revelation as well. As for who wrote the Book of Enoch, this account has been passed down as oral tradition for centuries throughout the Jewish community and into Christianity, which is actually totally normal for what the Jews at the time were accustomed to. However, at some point it was written down by scribes. The text spread across multiple continents in the hands of both Jews and Christians alike. Sadly, it was lost to mainstream Christianity when it was discovered until it was discovered by Europeans in the 1800s in a Ethiopian Orthodox church. And this again was confirmed in Qumran, which is in Judea, or the West Bank of Israel. Some say this is Palestine, but that's a totally different topic. So, what is so important about this book? After all, if you follow my channel, you've heard me speak against certain groups which Catholics call the Apocrypha, and other non-biblical texts. So why would Enoch be so different? Well, Enoch does not contradict the Bible, and it supports it. There is a concept of the Messiah coming to save those who serve him, which is what the Gospels teach. And this is amazing considering it was first spoken over 4,000 years ago, before even the flood happened. Many of us who believe the text disappeared from the public and reappeared in a generation which will need it. This is as in the days of Noah. So what's really interesting about it, there is a major expansion of the accounts of the book of Genesis. We see far more details regarding the fall of the fallen angels, who are the giants, or the Nephilim, who they were, where the demons come from, and if you've ever wondered if other fallen, non-human beings can be saved, it answers that too. Furthermore, why do we have society? Why does the idea of making technology come so naturally to us, as opposed to other animals? And what's up with many of the social issues that are prevalent in our modern world? Political issues, all that kind of stuff. Our days are becoming more and more like the days of Noah, more so than you might think. If this sounds good, let's get into it. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and read the Book of Enoch and pause here and there in various places to talk about how it corresponds to other parts of the Bible and give you interesting little facts about the text. I've read this a number of times and studied it quite a bit. So, starting with the Book of Enoch, chapter 1. And I'm going to be going through chapter 5 in this video. These are the words of the blessing of Enoch, according to which he has blessed and chosen the righteous who must be present on the days of distress, which is appointed, for the removal of all the wicked and impious. And Enoch began his story and said, There was a righteous man whose eyes were opened by the Lord, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens, which the angels showed to me. And I heard everything from them, and I understood what I saw, but not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come. Okay, so this is important, considering the text essentially disappeared from circulation and then reappears with documents that confirm other texts in the Bible. All of this time, a similar pre-flood world as what you'll see in a little bit. Moving on. Concerning the chosen I spoke, and I uttered a parable concerning them. The Holy and Great One will come out of his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread from here upon Mount Sinai. And he will appear with his host, and will appear in the strength of the power from heaven. Okay, so this is like foretelling the events of the book of Exodus, where we see the following in Exodus 19, 1 through 6. In the third month of the people, after the third month when people left Israel, they came to Sinai desert on the same day. They had left Rephidim and had come to the Sinai desert. There Israel set up their tents in front of the mountain, and Moses went up to God. The Lord called on him from the mountain, saying, "Say to this house of Jacob, and tell the people of Israel, if you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself, now then, if you will obey my voice and keep my agreement, you will belong to me from other nations, for all the earth is mine. You will be to me a great nation of religious leaders, a holy nation. These are the words that you will speak to the people of Israel." So, I'd say that's good, coming out of heaven in power from Mount Sinai. Enoch continues with something else though. "And all will be afraid, and the watchers will shake, and the fear of the great trembling will seize them, up to the ends of the earth." Now, do you remember what Jesus says in the book of James, chapter 2, verse 19? "You believe that God is one. Well and good. Even the demons believe that, and tremble with fear." So what are they afraid of? We'll see that in the book of Isaiah, chapter 24, verse 21. "And it shall come to pass on that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth will be upon the earth." So we see here that demons, who have not actually appeared yet in this point in the book of Enoch, will know who God is and will fear him. So, "And the high mountains will be shaken, and the high hills will be laid low, and will melt like wax in a flame. And the earth will sink, and everything that is on the earth will be destroyed, and there will be judgment on all, and upon the righteous." So we see almost this exact same thing again in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verses 4 through 5. "Every valley must be elevated, and every mountain and hill leveled. The rough terrain will become a level plain, and the rugged landscape a wide valley. And the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all people will see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." One major difference here is Enoch specifies how this will happen. The earth will melt like wax. And then it continues that God will come down onto heaven and all people will see it. This is interesting because in Revelation we see that God comes out of heaven with his holy city, which is described to be of a dimension and shape which is physically impossible in the current step of this universe. However, if gravity were to weaken just a little bit, it would not only be fine, but it would explain a number of other events in the book of Revelation. One would be the sun scorching the earth as it expands outward due to loss of gravitational fields holding it in. I explained this more in my video titled, "Is the Strength of Gravity Changing? Will it Destroy the Earth?" So is this what Enoch is seeing? I could imagine the earth being melted like wax. It would become more spherical. But Enoch continues, "But for the righteous he will make peace, and he will keep safe the chosen. And the mercy will be upon them. They will all belong to God. And they will prosper and be blessed, and the light of God will shine on them." This is again reflected in Revelation, and fitting with my theory of the sun and other stars burning out in the end due to the weakening of gravity. We read in Revelation 22, verse 5, "Night will be no more, and there will be no more need for the light of a lamp or sun, because the Lord God will shine on them, and they will reign forever and ever. So back to the book of Enoch, we see, and behold, he comes with 10,000 holy ones, to execute judgment on them, and to destroy the impious, and to contend with all the flesh concerning all the sinners and the impious have done, and wrought against him. So do you need more evidence that the book of Enoch should be counted as scripture? We see a mention of Enoch, and then the text is almost word for word in the book of Jude, chapter 1, verses 14 to 15. Now Enoch, the seventh in descent from the beginning of Adam, even prophesied of them, saying, Look, the Lord is coming with thousands of holy ones, to execute judgment on all, and to convict every person all thoroughly ungodly deeds they have committed, and of all the harsh words the ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Now, a few chapters can be between a paragraph to a sentence, so I'm just going to combine them. Moving on to Enoch chapters 2 through 5, we read, Contemplate all the events of the sky, how the lights in the sky do not change their courses, how each rises and sets in order, and each in its proper time. They do not transgress their law. Consider the earth and understand the work that is done upon it, from the beginning to the end, that no work of God changes as it becomes manifest. Consider the summer and the winter, and how the whole earth is full of water, and the clouds and the dew and rain rest upon it. Contemplate how we see the trees appear withered and all their leaves stripped, except the exception of the 14 trees which are not stripped, which remain with the old leaves until the new come after 2 or 3 years. That's evergreen trees. And again, contemplate the days of summer, and how at its beginning the sun is above it. You seek shelter and shade because of the heat of the sun, and the earth burns with scorching heat, and you cannot tread upon the earth upon a rock because of its heat. Contemplate how the trees are covered with green leaves and bear fruit, and understand, in respect of everything, and perceive how he who lives forever has made these things for you, and how his works are before him, and each succeeding year, and all of his works serve him and do not change. But God has declared and decreed, so everything is done. Okay, so this is also reflected in Psalm 119, verses 90 and 91. You demonstrate your faithfulness to all generations. You established the earth, and it stood firm. So continuing on in chapter 5, that's what we're up to now. Those few sentences took us all the way to chapter 5. Enoch continues, And consider how the seas and rivers together complete their tasks, but you have not persevered in, nor observed the law of the Lord. But you have transgressed and have spoken proud, harsh words with your unclean mouth against his majesty. You hard of heart, you will not have peace, and because of this you will curse your days, and the years of your life you will destroy. An eternal curse will increase with you, and you will not receive mercy. The same sentiment is sadly reflected in Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 11, which reads, On that day you will not be ashamed of all the rebelliousness against me, for then I will remove from your midst those who proudly boast, and you will never again be arrogant on my holy hill. That's a strict warning not to mock God, and to obey God, of course. So continuing on in chapter 5, verse 5 now. In those days you will transform your name into an eternal curse to all the righteous, and they will curse you sinners forever. For the chosen there will be light, joy, peace, and they will inherit the earth. But for you, the impious, there will be a curse. When wisdom is given to those chosen, they will all live. but will not go again doing wrong, either through forgetfulness or through pride. But those who possess wisdom will be humble. This has a strong ecclesiastical feel to it. For example, Ecclesiastes 2:26. For to the one who pleases him, the Lord gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy, but to the sinner he gives a task of amassing wealth, only to give it to the one who pleases God. And this task of the wicked is futile, like chasing the wind. Continuing on in the book of Enoch, we read, they will not again do wrong, and they will not be judged in all the days of their life, and they will not die of wrath or anger, but they will complete the number of the days of their life, and their life will grow in peace, and the years of the joy will increase in gladness and eternal peace, all the days of their life. Now, you have to be clear that this is in general, specifically, not saying you will be well or promoting some prosperity gospel nonsense. Compare this to 1 Thessalonians 1:10, for example. And to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, Jesus our deliverer from the coming wrath. Congratulations. You have just made it through the first chapter of the book of Enoch. And you know a little bit more about it. In the next video, I will pick up on chapter 6.